Hello and welcome to this demonstration. Let's design some trading strategies using TSL Lite and drop them into the NinjaTrader platform. We're going to use the TSL Lite platform, which is a strategy code generator and code writing platform. Now this is a lightweight version of the full TSL platform. The TSL platform is a genetic programming platform. TSL Lite is what's known as a deterministic strategy generator, meaning every time you run the trading strategy engine, you will get the same strategies emerging from the engine. Unlike an evolutionary computing algorithm like Trading System Lab, which uses a genetic program, when you run the platform several times in a row, you won't get exactly the same answer because of the element of randomness that gets introduced into the evolutionary process. So TSL Lite is what we're going to be demonstrating today in this demonstration. And TSL Lite automatically writes trading strategies. You don't need to be a programmer. That's the big key here that I'd like to make sure everybody understands. You don't need to be a C# programmer to know how to use Trading System Lab Lite and generate some very good trading strategies using this engine. We're agnostic to the market, meaning we don't care if it's stocks, bonds, mutual funds, commodities, ETFs. It just doesn't matter as long as it's data, intraday data or end of day data or end of week data, for example. We accept the general open, high, low, close type of data. And we take that data then and do a lot of processing on it and generate the trading strategies automatically. This is a low to medium frequency trading strategy generator. So swing trading, day trading, overnight trading, that kind of thing is what's possible with this engine. The TSL Lite platform combines day of month seasonality and trading setups into this algorithm generator, and that is what is used at a high level to generate these strategies. Now, what do I mean by day of month seasonality? Well, certain days of the month generate better returns if you happen to go long that particular symbol during those days of the month on average. This is over all of the historical data that's available on that symbol. Now there's many other seasonal characteristics that you can look at. For example, the intraday seasonal characteristic that shows some slow period during the lunch hour in Chicago. We saw that back when we traded the full-size S&P 500. The pit would basically take lunch breaks or take breaks during the lunch hour, and so volume would decrease, and very often a lot of the more volatile moves did not occur during the lunch period. Early in the day and later in the day is when you saw volatility. So that's an example of time of day volatility. There's also day of week volatility, day of month volatility that we're going to be exploiting here, as well as month of year volatility, week of year volatility, and day of week inside the month type of volatility. For TSL Lite, I decided to start with day of month because it was well behaved in my opinion, and was a great starting point. Open code is generated in this platform. We're not generating a DLL. We're not hiding any code behind a DLL. All code is fully divulged and available if you want to take the code and do other work with it, perhaps optimize some addition that you've created or optimize other variables that are available in the code. That's very possible for you to do so. You can also disassemble the code and look at it and understand completely how it works. It's actually quite simple when it gets disassembled. The complexity becomes in the way that the subsystems are combined and the engine that actually generates the code. That's where the TSL platform comes into play. The TSLlite platform comes into play, and that is far more complicated. But the complex stuff has been done for you. So you don't need to be a programmer, you don't need to know C# language, you don't need to learn a new programming language, you just need to run the platform and copy and paste the code into Ninja. We produce both in-sample and out-of-sample results and a scatter plot showing the relationship between the in-sample and the out-of-sample results. I'll get to that in a minute. We have what's called a deconfliction filter. Now what TSLlite does is it generates a plethora of subsystems. Each subsystem is a simple system on its own, and when they're combined together into a supersystem, it becomes much more powerful. Now within these individual subsystems, there may be some conflicts. For example, if we have two systems that are exactly the same, except the holding period is different between the two, the subsystem with the shorter holding period will be exited first if those trading strategies happen to be traded together. So that's a conflict. We're not trading two systems independently because of this holding period conflict. Well, we have deconfliction algorithms and filters that will allow a deconflicting to occur of those subsystems, and I'll demonstrate that in a moment as well. We can also select individual subsystems and merge them together into a supersystem in a nearly unlimited number of combinations. So the flexibility in doing this kind of work is substantial in that you can combine these subsystems into a supersystem or trade the individual subsystems as they are. This is really a lower cost alternative to the full TSL professional platform, which is a much more complicated and complete platform that still does not require programming. Simply copy and pasting evolved code into the trading platform is what you do with TSL Professional, and you also do that with TSLlite. So we really need to stop writing code. We need to work more with these engines that write the code for us. And this allows us to focus and concentrate at a higher level as to what's going on here, looking at the metrics of the trading strategy, evaluating its robustness moving forward, looking at all of the other things that are important to look at when you're creating a trading plan, and not be bogged down on a minute-by-minute and day-by-day basis just trying to design a code and avoiding overfitting that code that is so easy to do with these platforms that allow backtesting and designing of code using a variety of languages. Okay. Let's go ahead and begin our work here. So I've got the SPY data loaded up here. It's daily data. I've already extracted the data for use in TSLlite, and I'll show you that data now. It's right here. It's date, time, open, high, low, close, and it goes from 1996 to 2021. So we'll go ahead and bring up TSLlite and load that data into the TSLlite platform. Here it is. It's loaded in. The day of month density plot is shown here, and as we can see, in the middle of the month there's this depression of returns. The light colored returns are 1 to 5 days in the future. The green colors are 15 to 20 days into the future, and the other colors represent intermediate holding periods. So for the day of month around the 13th day of the month, we see this depression in the relative returns on this market. This is very common with the S&P 500 type of data, as well as Dow and NASDAQ. We have this middle of the month depression where we really want to avoid going long, or at least evaluate more thoroughly going long the market in the middle of the month. Contrast that with going long and holding for 15 to 20 days into the future. Earlier in the month, the first few days of the month, the returns relatively over all of the history are biased more strongly up. That doesn't mean that every month, early in the month, is going to be profitable when you go long. You've got to do a lot more to assure that you're looking at this data correctly. Well, that's what the TSL Lite platform does, is it uses this small amount of bias here and enhances it with some very simple filters and approaches to design these trading strategies. I'm going to use all the default settings except for one. I'm going to change the size of the account to $10,000. So we're going to assume that we're trading $10,000 worth of the SPY market. We call that the constant dollars setting. I'm also going to set the big point value to 1 because this is an ETF, so its BPV is 1, and run it. And in a few seconds it's done. We've designed many trading strategies. In fact, we've designed 6,380 trading strategies, and my filter criteria has allowed only 124 subsystems to come through the filters. Now, what do I mean by the filters? Well, I've only accepted systems that have a profit factor of 2 or greater, have 30 or more trades, have a net to drawdown of 5 to 1 or greater, have 60% accuracy or greater, and a flat time of no more than 0.4. It's a pretty high flat time that I'm willing to accept. This is the equity curve that's been generated by all of those systems together, acting together. And here's the out-of-sample results of those systems. The scatter plot showing in-sample versus out-of-sample is here, and here's the trend line. That's generally sloping up, not bad, but there is a slightly positive relationship between the in-sample and the out-of-sample. Now comes the good stuff. Here's the NinjaTrader code. I'm going to copy that code, and I'm going to paste it into the NinjaTrader editor where it goes. F5 to compile the code. It's compiled. F5 to run that code on a chart. And I'll also backtest that same code in NinjaTrader. And here's the equity curve for that backtested strategy. And this strategy is ready to trade. Now, we do have some of those wasted strategies in here that wouldn't be fully used, because a earlier strategy with the same strategy but with a different holding period would be exited first, as I discussed earlier. So we're going to use the deconfliction filter and deconflict based on profit factor, say, for example. So I select this, I rerun the trading strategy, and now I go to the filtered strategy, and you can see that strategy number 0 is missing. It's been eliminated because of the conflict. Copy that trading strategy, go back to the editor, erase what I had, copy in that new code, compile it. It compiled. Go to the chart, rerun the data on the chart. It's run, and now I can rerun the backtest, and there's the backtest of the deconflicted system. Now let's make some changes here. Let's increase the holding period of the system to 10 days. So I'm going to look at 1 to 10 days. I'm going to look at profit factors only of 3 or greater. It's a pretty good profit factor, so 3 or greater. I'm going to stick with a minimum of 30 trades, a net to profit drawdown of 5-to-1, percent accuracy of 60, and a flat time ratio again of 0.4. Let's run that and see what happens. Here's the equity curve on that, and I've designed 12,760 trading strategies on that pass, and I have a total of 44 subsystems that have emerged. Let's take that NinjaTrader code, copy it, and paste that over to the NinjaTrader platform. Compile it. It's compiled. Rerun it on the chart. Let's rerun on the chart and backtest it using the NinjaTrader backtester, and here that is. So those trading strategies that I just evaluated have a higher overall profit factor, so perhaps you would want to trade that trading strategy. But let's say that we want to trade just an individual trading strategy. Well, this subsystem grid here is sortable, so I can sort it by profit factor. Here's a system, for example, that has a profit factor of 15 and is 83% accurate with a profit to drawdown of 28-to-1. I can also sort by total trades here, and I can look at the equity curve of each one of these systems. I'll resort back by system number, double click on the system number after I go back to turning off the system filter, and the error message down here reminded me to do that. Double click here, and there's the equity curve for that particular individual subsystem. So let's say that I want to just trade this individual subsystem. That happens to be system number 0. I go back to the NinjaTrader code. I copy out just that particular subsystem, bring it back over to the Ninja editor, paste that in, compile that code, rerun it on the chart, and I can backtest that individual subsystem. So this is the individual subsystem, which is just one of many subsystems that that are available. So other elements that are available are individual trade-by-trade reports for every trading subsystem, every trade that's made. So you can compare these trade-by-trades here with the trade-by-trades in NinjaScript if you want to, in NinjaTrader, to make sure that the trading strategies were translated correctly over. And we already talked about the scatter plot and the day-a-month density. There's a brief summary of the overall trading strategies, either individually or combined as an overall package. I happen to be looking here only at system number 0 because that's the last system that I double-clicked on. And of course, we have the equity curve of the individual trading strategies or of all of the trading strategies together as we did before. Well, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this demo. Please reach out if you're interested in a TSL Lite license. Thank you very much.